First thing and probably most important thing that everybody's interested in is what is the status of the TNC deal and how does that actually affect us? What is the benefit to us as CRE holders, and why I am so extremely excited about the opportunity that we were able to nail down with this company as it is. So some of you know that I've been an advisor to TNC, helping them do some other M&A activities and kind of navigating the field of different places since September of last year. Solid company. I do know the internal workings of it and bank accounts and all kinds of good stuff. So I am very, very excited that we've been afforded the opportunity to be one of their first 5 companies that they're doing a token swap with. We were able to negotiate a deal because of the relationship that I have with them that's much different than the other companies that are out there. In fact, the other 4 companies, I've been kind of snooping around in their Telegram groups, and as I watch their Telegram groups, they're realizing, well, Krios is one of the 5, and they're poking around, and they're seeing what we got versus what they got, and there's a lot of disappointed people over there, but we have a very good deal with them. We are able to actually keep our asset of CRE, which will be renamed to GIG after the conversion, where other companies are not. Most of the companies, they're having to give up their token for TNC, and that's pretty much the end of the day for them. With that being said, we get 2 TNCs for every CRE token that you currently hold. TNC is going to be publicly tradable at the end of this month. Right now, the date is April 30th. It was supposed to be April 10th on my birthday, which I was really hoping for, but that didn't happen due to some of the exchanges not being able to get things facilitated as quickly as they needed to due to virus issues that they were having with the coronavirus. So the 2-to-1, this is kind of how it works. So let's say you have 1 million CRE tokens. You are going to receive 2 million TNC tokens. Their opening price on several very large exchanges, Bittrex and OKEX are two of the larger ones they're opening up day one on, are going to be at 2 cents, and that means that our current trading price of CRE, which is around 1 cent, unfortunately, I'm not super happy about that, but at 1 cent means you're about to get a 4x increase in your assets that you hold as a CRE token holder, and you get to keep your CRE, even though it's going to be called GIG. But it's the GIG token is going to have all of the same rights and privileges that CRE has enjoyed since I purchased the company back in May of last year, and we look forward to trying to pull in more deals like this. But if we do simple math on it, they're at 4 cents, we're at 1 cent. That's a 4x return. Some of the things that they have required, and understandably so, is that the CRE tokens get moved into the Aladdin Pro wallet. Once they're moved there, you will not have access to the CRE anymore because those tokens are eventually going to get burned against our contract. When that happens, shortly after the 30th of this month, when the exchanges light up, we are going to do a token swap, which a lot of people are familiar with due to some of the issues we've had recently. And the token has already been made. It's GIG. The contract's already out there. We're ready to do the blockchain swap. And for every CRE token you have, you're going to end up with 1 GIG token. And those are not held, or you can do pretty much whatever you want to with them. We will also be listing or relisting the GIG token. Some of you noticed that we shut down P2P recently. I can't say 100% with confidence today that we're going to keep with P2P, but we'll see. They are an extremely difficult company to deal with. I've been very disappointed with their performance as a company as far as the ease of working with them, unlike LA Token, but I have several other exchanges that we're going to be launching shortly in the same time line that Gig Token is available, to include some US friendly ones and some actually larger exchanges as well. So everybody be happy to see that we're on more than just LA Token and P2P at that point. One of the things that I'm going to be trying to do with that is to include some of the countries that we currently have virtually zero penetration into, and one of those or two of those is going to be China and South Korea. I've got deals with two of the exchanges that are very centric to those countries to get the Gig token listed on. So I think that should hopefully bring in more excitement, more trading, and more volumes for the Gig token. The TNC token, again, is coming out at 2 cents. So let's just say you've got to put the TNC, you got to put your Krios tokens into the Aladdin Pro wallet. You're going to end up over the next 48 hours or so, I'm going to start doing distributions of those TNC tokens, which, by the way, about a week and a half ago or so, they deposited $20 million worth of TNC tokens into the company account. Those are for me to distribute out to the Krios holders. As we make those distributions, they will be full. So if you deposited 1 million Krios into the Aladdin Pro wallet, you're going to get 2 million TNCs shortly. We're going to probably do weekly distributions. I sent the last updated spreadsheet from the Google form that I have everybody filling out to them this morning, and hopefully within 48 hours I'll start doing the distributions of those. The reason that they are having it in the Aladdin Pro wallet is twofold. First fold is Krios tokens, again, will be burned against the contract. So they're kind of locked. Once you put them in there, they're locked. We will, again, be issuing those Gig tokens back out against that blockchain, which you can move back out of the Aladdin Pro wallet to whatever wallet it is you may want. But one of the things that they're doing is they are requiring, or the TNCs will be distributed at a rate of 10% per month. So you put 1 million in, you're going to get your 2 million into the Aladdin Pro wallet. You'll see them there, but you'll only have access to being able to move, trade, sell, whatever it is you want to do with them. They're an ERC20 token at the rate of 10% per month. So if you had 1 million every month, you're going to have access to another 100,000. So it's additive. It's not like if you don't touch the 100,000, then you get nothing next month. That's not. It'd be 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 as the months roll down. So that's a way that they're doing to prevent dumping in the marketplace. I do know for a fact that they have a pretty sizable war chest set aside to actually help with the dumping issue, that they're going to try to keep that 2 cent token rolling as long as possible. They actually feel, with some of the other announcements that they're doing based on their business, that they, it is, unfortunately, crypto is crypto, but they think they can get this thing up to about 20 cents pretty quickly. So let's hope that that's a fact. Originally, the plan for their company was to do what they are doing with us, except for they were literally just swapping tokens. They weren't letting a company like ourselves reissue our token. But they were going to do that with 200 companies. Over hours and hours of conversation that I've had with them and their team, they finally agreed that that's just not a good idea. There's absolutely no way that you can maintain a token and have that much of a population come into a new token and trade as you can with that. So they've whittled it down to 5. We're obviously in the top 5 and being done first. So that will hopefully help people that are wanting to liquidate some of that asset and turn it into cash quickly. That should help that. They're, like I said, they are getting listed on several very large exchanges. I know for a fact that Bittrex and OKEX are 2 that they have settled on. And with the Bittrex one, they're doing a trading competition, which should help the volumes and the buying of that pretty heavily, which is a pretty sweet deal actually. I don't know if anybody is big traders or has trading bots and software, but there's 5 different categories that they're giving out $50,000 awards to on those. So it's a pretty good competition on Bittrex. So we should get a lot of motion with that in the TNC contract or tokens. So just to kind of go over that once again, just to make it easier for everybody, there's going to be a distribution of 2 TNC tokens for the ones that you have deposited into your Aladdin Pro wallet. You can continue to deposit into the Aladdin Pro wallet at will. The only thing I ask is that you update the spreadsheet, and you also send me a personal email to dringdahl@krios.io so that I can make sure that I add you to the next round of distributions. We're going to probably do those distributions once a week. You have 12 months to do that. They're launching at 2 cents. They're on at a minimum 5 exchanges that I'm aware of currently. I know that Ron over there is trying to get 2 more done before the end of the month, so we'll see how many we actually end up with total out of there. But should be a pretty good amount of trading going on, which is obviously what's super important in these trying to trade a new token that's just been released like that. They got a solid business. The Aladdin or Buy Aladdin website is live in several countries. It's actually being received very well. It's kind of a mashup of all the online buying sites that you can think of. And it's not really a search engine, but it's kind of like a mall. So if you're searching for a new razor or something like that, you can go out there and it's going to go to everywhere from Walmart.com to Macy's and JCPenney's and Amazon and eBay and all those places, and get you the lowest price with shipping and time that it takes to get to all that kind of good stuff that they do. It's a pretty solid package they put together. They have over 900 employees in that business, so it's they've thought it through very well. They've done a good job building it, and it looks very scalable. So we'll see how that works. On the gig coin, if you look to my left, which I guess is your right, you'll see a new logo over on the wall there, which is the gig logo. If you're on Etherscan and you start typing Krios, you're going to see Krios/gig. And that is the logo that you should see. That's the contract that's active for the gig tokens that we will be distributing out to everybody. Like I said, shortly after the launch of their exchanges, we'll be going ahead and making that gig swap. Let's see. I was talking for about 15 minutes. I don't know if I'm repeating myself or not here, but all right. So let's talk a little bit about the status of the platform. Unfortunately, we all, I think, were hoping that the coronavirus issue would really help launch Krios and a revenue stream with a lot of jobs. We have been picking up a lot of freelancers and some good freelancers on that time, but the jobs are virtually dried up. There's nobody hiring anybody almost at this point. It disappoints me But one of the things that I always do is keep an eye on my competition and see what's going on in the world. There's a Telegram group out there that shows all of the freelancer jobs as they get listed, freelancer.com's jobs. So one of our competitors. And on an average basis, I've been watching this probably for 6 months. On an average day, you see anywhere from 25 to 30,000 new jobs that are posted on that Telegram group. That has shrunk to less than 1,500 per day. So this is an industry issue, not a Krios issue, which I guess it's better than it being a Krios issue. So we're going to weather the storm here and hope that we start signing up a lot of freelancers. We've gotten a lot better freelancers over the last 45 days or so. I've really focused on changing the site. A lot of you have seen some of the changes that we've been making to the actual freelancing marketplace site and trying to take the look of it being a Fiverr site down a little bit and look more like an Upwork and Freelancer site, freelancer.com site. That being said, quite honestly, that's really where the money's at. Those jobs tend to be $1,000 to $5,000 a job versus $50 a job. It also tends to be a much higher quality freelancer that's doing those jobs, and that's very important to us. So about a week ago, our admin team has been given access to a curation system that we developed. All freelancers have to be approved by our admin team, and all jobs have to be approved by our admin team. So we're trying to get rid of the crap that's out there. There's going to be a flushing of freelancers shortly. That if we don't think that their profile's up to speed, they've got bad grammar, they didn't fill out all the fields, for whatever reason, we don't think they look like a quality person, they're going to get kicked off the site. So we're doing that to try to raise the quality, again, of freelancers that Krios represents. We are in negotiations currently with the new chairman of Freelancer Union, which is here in the U.S. a union of freelancers that allows them to purchase health care insurance as a freelancer through them at a much discounted rate than you would have to get as an individual or a freelancer. We're working on a deal with them right now where a portion of our revenue stream actually goes to those freelancers as they work to help pay those insurance bills. So it's something that's different than the other major freelancing platforms are doing. And I think they've got a little over 500,000 members that are paying them. So we should be able to pick up those 500,000, mostly U.S.-based freelancers to the platform in an effort, like I said, to kind of create what I really want us to see at the end of the day is us have the best freelancing platform out there. And to do that requires us to have the best freelancers out there. When we originally fired this thing up, we kind of went for the low-hanging fruit just to see, if we could get some traction. We kind of looked a little bit more like Fiverr. And as many of you, if you poked around at some of the profiles of some of the freelancers out there, they are not up to my quality standards anyway. We'll just leave it at that. So they'll be removed along with their services, again, in an effort to increase the quality of the business. I announced a week or two ago a deal that I had been in the process of getting negotiated with a company called ServiceMax. We employ a PR firm that's a very expensive monthly bill, unfortunately for us, but they do a good job for us. They were able to bring us ServiceMax, which is a field service platform, software platform that's used by GE and several other Fortune 100 companies. They're going to bring over about 250,000 freelancing service workers that are like field service workers. So think of somebody that goes out and fixes a washer and a dryer, or somebody that goes out and fixes an x-ray machine at a hospital. All of those people are about to get rolled up underneath our platform. If you look to the let's see, it's my left, so you're right, the screen there, and again at the top there's a screen zoom. You can actually kind of zoom in on it. You'll see a not approved, we're still working on some of the verbiage, press release that's going to be going out early next week to the world, announcing the partnership between ServiceMax and Krios, and they're going to be using a modified version of our platform for that. I've got to say it's a very, very, very good deal for us as a company. It again brings in currently employed freelancers with their employers onto our platform, gives them a lot of capabilities, and quite honestly gives us a real shot in the arm as far as getting employment and stuff working. One of the things you'll notice in that press release, and again, I unfortunately can't really distribute this. You guys can kind of see what's up on the wall there, but I'll distribute it when it actually goes public. There is a lot of effort that goes on into trying to get these kind of company deals in for us. So again, you know, hours and hours and hours of phone calls, contract negotiations, design of a new front end. It uses a lot of the Krios back end, but it virtually is almost a brand new website. It'll still be krios.io, but it'll be like fieldservice.krios.io. Just a lot of work getting there, but we're there. Exciting. It's going to create a lot of revenue for us, even in a bad time. You'll notice that it's coronavirus focused. They have a lot of field service reps that they're in need of right now. So there's actually a job board as part of it in order to try and to get back a lot of the field service reps that are either retired or no longer work for them. They're just trying to get them all back in the ring because there's more work than they've got people for. So that's a really good thing for our company. Super excited about that. To my right, or your left, you'll see a screen. Let's see, try this again. I can, here, my little laser pointer working here. It's cool software. You can see this is something that we launched about a month ago. It's a blog for Krios, primarily used to help us do some marketing. Anybody that wants to write blogs, feel free to. We need content. That's what makes things like this work. But we are actually seeing a nice bump in our SEO because of the blog, and getting a lot of new users to the site and stuff like that. So that was a pretty exciting rollout that we did about a month ago. Some of you have actually helped contribute to that, which is great. Okay, so create a gig. Just so everybody understands, one of the things that's nice about us having control of the actual Cree blockchain, and I don't want to get technically deep in this. A lot of you will understand kind of what I'm saying, but in a blockchain, as the owner of the blockchain, and you can actually go to the contract and look, and it's attached back to my account, we are able to kind of modify it. We're able to timestamp it, and we're able to say, okay, well, here's all of the Ethereum wallets that Cree resides in, and on this given date, at this given moment, we're going to swap those Cree tokens to gig tokens. This is something, again, we were able to negotiate outside of the TNC deal, where you still maintain your Cree, soon to be renamed gig assets. One of the reasons that I kind of wanted to change the name was because we've had so many Cree contracts. It's kind of mind-numbing to go through and find the right one. So now there's a Krios/gig contract. If you go to Etherscan up in the top and you start typing Krios, you'll see it pop up. Over to my left-hand side, you'll see the new gig logo that you should see on that contract. That way you know you got the right one. But super excited about that. We're launching that shortly after the exchanges open up on TNC. We'll do that swap to include several new exchanges. So one of the things that we're trying to get done is a little bit more of a global shift in the gig token, and that's we're actually going to focus on a couple of Chinese exchanges and South Korean exchanges. Right now, we have zero exposure in those markets, and I think it's makes sense for us to get in there. There's still a lot of trading done with those countries in exchanges, so we're trying to get that spun up as quickly as possible. So we did TNC Deals. Okay, so let's talk about profit share. That's heavy on everybody's hearts at this point. I'm going to have to say, unfortunately, currently, and I'm not saying that the profit share is not going to happen for Q1. It may still happen in Q1, and we're still fixing some of the KYC issues. That's one reason, but I think as the CEO of the company, we are not in a cash-making mode at the moment because of the virus. So I think it's important for the company to probably hold on to some of its cash assets so that we can roll out as coronavirus starts to slow down a little bit and keep the company, rolling down the road here. So currently, and again, this isn't in firm and sand. I've wrestled with this decision over and over and over again, but there's not going to be an end of month profit share. We may do a profit share sometime during this month, during the month of May, understanding that the company is potentially going to get somewhat flush with cash due to the TNC deal and the Service Max deal. If we meet 20% of what I think we're going to do with those two deals, then there's probably going to be a pretty nice little profit share showing up before the second quarter profit share shows up, just so everybody understands that. The TNC deal, I kind of feel is a pretty damn good profit share. I mean, right now it's 4x the current value of your Krios tokens. Of course, that's subject to trading and crypto, and unfortunately only getting access to 10% of that asset on a monthly basis. But I do feel that that's a pretty solid setup of a company. Like I say, it's not something that's I'm external to. There's a lot of knowledge that I've gained of their inner workings. The partnership of TNC and Krios is actually a very win-win situation for both of our companies. There's a lot of stuff they're going to be able to help us out with, and there's a lot of stuff that we've been helping them out with currently. So I think all in all, it's a pretty good fit for us. So I'm pretty excited about that. So, that being said, I'm trying to think of the easiest way to open this up for some discussion. Let's see. I got one question from Jed that says, what time frame is looking like? I guess I don't know if we're talking about time frames of TNC and stuff like that. Like I said, about a week and a half ago, I received $20 million worth of their TNC. I'm waiting for them to verify the wallets are actually Aladdin Pro wallets that have been signed up on the Google form, because obviously it's got to go back into a Aladdin Pro wallet so that 10% per month can get distributed. So they've gotten the last version of that this morning from me, and I'm expecting probably to be releasing that towards hopefully within the next 48 hours. I'll start going through that list. We've got about 250 people so far that have filled out that form and have moved their TNC over. So that's a little bit of a workload to start, doing the math and doing all the contracts and sending all those tokens out on a one-by-one basis, but we'll get it done. All right, so that's what you were asking, Jed. Then that's the answer. All right, so Let me read through these things a little bit. Okay, so the the gig logo. Okay, let me walk over there. It should be over on this. But that is what we're doing. The reason that, some people might wonder why we renamed it. Gig is much more appropriate to what our company is than Krios. Krios is a little hard of a name to brand. Our PR agency has had multiple discussions with me saying, Dwight, it's good. You guys show up at the top. If somebody types Krios in Google, you guys are at the #1 spot. It's, that's all good stuff. But it doesn't say anything about freelancing. Freelancer.com, you know where you're going to. You're going to a freelancing site. Krios.io, not so much. I'm hoping over the next 45 days to potentially get Krios.com. I've already had discussions with the guy that owns that. He's just asking a truckload of money to get that domain from him, but I think it's probably going to be worth it here shortly. So I see James has come up onto the stage with me. James, can you see the... let's see. James, hit me over on...
I can hear you, Dwight.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Are you able to see the list of chat that's going on?
Yeah. I can see that. So we can... so if people want to put some questions into the chat, and then we'll go from there. I had a few anyway, so we could probably start with some of the ones.
Looks like you've been tanning pretty hard there, James.
I just picked the first person. It just gave me an option. I chose the first person. I didn't go for the full gig there.
Yeah.
One of the things, obviously, we've got the deal, which sounds really good, and I think if we look at in perspective of what's happening right now, actually, this is a really good deal, which is good. Thank you very much, Dwight. And actually, we're probably going to make more money from the TNC, even though it's 10%, even if you've done a profit share anyway. So I think, if we look at it, if we look at it in those sort of terms,
absolutely. Yeah, so let's have a little bit of a discussion on how profit shares work. I mean, if you look at traditionally and understand the model is based around, some of the deals that I've done, companies I've had in the past which were publicly listed. When you do a profit share, it's generally, if it's even 1% of the current trading price, that's a huge profit share. I mean, people aren't getting 50 cents on a $2 stock on the markets anywhere. I mean, if they did, everybody would buy only profit share stocks or dividend paying stocks. So the fact that we're getting 4x the current rate, even at 10%, is 40%, right? If we're getting 400% and you only get 10% of that, you're getting a 40% monthly profit share just off the TNC deal. Now, I fully understand that that's not a profit share. It happened at a great time. I mean, for us, I think it's a really good thing for the community, but it's not profits from the company. It's a deal that I was able to work out from some of the stuff I've been doing with that company and been able to bring it over to the shareholders here, or to our token holders. So, yeah, I agree with you on that.
The other one that I had is obviously with the TNC launch, it's obviously going to go on Bittrex. You've already talked about there's going to be 5 categories, $50,000 rewards and stuff. Is there something in the plan in terms of when you get onto some of these exchanges, is actually having some of those, maybe using some TNC profits to incentivize some trading competitions?
Trading competitions for the gig coin?
Yeah.
You know what? That's a good idea. I mean, that's not something I really thought of doing. I'm not opposed to it at all. I think it's right now. I don't think we have large enough exchanges to make that worthwhile. But I think you will see very shortly after May 1st some larger exchanges showing gig as a token on there. So yes, I think that that's it's definitely something that's makes sense.
I think it'll definitely create awareness, especially if there's some decent rewards behind it. It gets people trading. I think especially as we come out of the coronavirus thing, probably people will want to make some money, and I think that might fall into our lap quite nicely in that sense.
Yeah, you know, one of the things I've got to kind of walk a little carefully with the TNC deal and those guys. You know, the other 4 companies that are part of this initial launch of TNC did not get the same deal. They're having to give up their tokens fully for the TNC tokens. But shortly after April 30th, when they actually launched the thing, I'm thinking we're going to do some sort of a press release, kind of outlines the deal that we got. And I think the cryptoverse, when they realized that, oh my God, had I spent today a penny for a Krios, I could make 4 cents tomorrow, is probably going to help drive some traffic to us as well.
Oh, okay. All right, just got that. Okay. So when I'm not speaking, I'll go on mute, guys. I've just read that.
Okay. James, you got some more questions there?
Yeah, I'm just having a quick read. I'm just going off. I'm muting my mic when I'm not speaking, because apparently it's picking up additional noises.
Okay.
Okay, there's a question around sort of the Chinese market, hearing that their hostility towards crypto, and they're just curious how protected we are. So I suppose the big question is, one, how big is the Chinese market? What sort of cut through will we get, and how will we get it? And how do you think we'll be received in those countries?
So, okay, to answer that, there's a lot of crypto trading in China. It is something that we've stayed away from. You know, when I joined and recognized in the Telegram group that anytime we saw Chinese characters, we pretty much nuked them. And that's because none of us can read it, I guess. But the Chinese market's pretty strong. The 2 exchanges that I'm looking at listing with have very strong advertising packages that come with that listing fee, which, you know, by the way, unfortunately, the pricing of listing on exchanges has not gotten any less expensive. I mean, you're still looking anywhere from $40,000 to $120,000 listing fees with pretty much even the small guys at this point. But there are marketing packages that are provided with those fees. I think will draw a lot of attention. You know, I guess the way I look at it is it's areas of the globe that don't even know about Cree. Because their language is so much different. Same with South Korea. Those two areas are I just think it makes sense for us to get listed on exchanges that are more friendly to those places.
I had another question, Dwight, or another idea. With the current uptake, so obviously, let's say for argument's sake, there's 100 million tokens sitting with the Cree holders right now, which would obviously be big gig. First of all, what percentage of the Cree holders have come in for TNC? And then, is there anything to be done? Let's say 60 million, and then there's 40 million spare, if you will. Is there anything that you can, I'm just thinking maybe that could be later on down the line, that you could do another distribution especially for those people that missed out, because a few people are going to kick themselves that they didn't put their tokens across as some sort of incentive or something to, one, get people to buy the token, and also maybe to increase trading potentially.
Yeah. Okay. So to answer that, there's actually 12 months that you have to convert the current CRE that's on the current token that starts with the 0x045. That is, you have 12 months to convert that to the TNC. There will not be distributions from the gig token to TNC. So when we reissue gig, that's a whole. It's only CRE holders at this point that are going to get that benefit. So they have they have basically from now to the end of the month. If they want to buy it, they can go out to the exchange, LA token, and buy it. I don't know if I said it since I turned my mic on, but P2P we shut down. They're trying to get us to keep the gig token on over there, but they're just incredibly difficult people to work with. They're slow. They gave us no help whatsoever during the issue that we had in Canada, and I'm not a super big fan of them as a company. So P2P may go away. And that's why I said that there are other exchanges that we're going to be launching early May. So.
Another question in from Martin. So Martin says there are 4,720 CRE token holders. The total supply is obviously 500 million. The biggest is 275, which obviously is yourself, Dwight. Currently, there's 2 addresses on the new contract. One with 500, obviously with one 500 million. Who is the second address holder? Is the question.
If they look at the blockchain there, they'll see a test of 500 gig tokens to my Aladdin Pro wallet to make sure that Aladdin Pro's wallet was set up with gig.
Okay, so it's just a test. That's cool.
Yeah, that's literally just 500 gigs that were sent over to do a test with. So that 500,000, that wallet is going to be what gets converted to all the 4,720 CRE token holders currently. Understand that 4,720, because we've done this multiple times. Unfortunately, that's not really how many people own CRE, because the last 2,700 or so of those have 0 balances. They had held it at some point and sold it, traded it, moved it, did whatever. So there's probably in the range of 2,000 CRE holders with active wallets. And of those 2,000, there's probably less than 500 that have 1,000 CRE, or more than less than 1,000 CRE. So there's really about 500 people we got to deal with that have any kind of significant CRE holdings. There's a ton of them out there that are like 500 CRE from all the stuff that Chris had given away.
Cool. Marjorie speaks Mandarin, so if you need any help, Marjorie said you can have an offline conversation.
Awesome.
With other markets.
Marjorie, certainly send me directly an email with your contact info so that we can utilize your services.
I suppose from a community point of view, is there anything that the community can do to help promote and help the Krios project?
Probably the best thing that we could help is still, even though Krios shows up in the top 1 of search, if you search Krios, we're not even in the top 10 pages when you search freelancer. We spend a lot of money on a daily basis working on that. It takes a long time to get moved up into those things, but more importantly, we need people talking about Krios with keywords like freelancer marketplace, jobs, those kind of keywords posted around the internet. I mean, it can be, pretty much anywhere. Facebook, unfortunately, is a little bit of a walled garden, so posting it out at Facebook isn't going to help us out a lot. But if you guys have any kind of personal blogs, sites, it does show up on LinkedIn, which is really good. I would suggest, anybody that's gone out and made a Krios profile, make sure that Krios is listed as an employer, and that helps a lot, actually. It's just a matter of getting the word out there. We are focused at getting some of these. I've never been a big fan of getting the really big companies. The PR company that we have was able to get the ServiceMax deal for us, and that's huge. I probably wouldn't have even stepped into the water on that, because my every time I've done business with like super big companies. So there's a business I owned in the early 2000s. We had a couple of satellites in space and 32,000 miles of fiber optics around the world. And we started doing deals with very large companies, obviously. And the fallout from that can be painful. When you lose a big customer, it can cripple a business. One of the things, and I didn't mention it as I was going through the lack of jobs that are being posted out there, even at freelancer.com. The good news for us is we are very lean and very mean. We have a great team of people. We have a great community of Krios holders. But for the freelancing platform, I can't imagine what's going through Upwork and freelancer.com's minds right now, because they've got hundreds of employees with offices and expenses, and they're spending it as fast as they're making it, and all of a sudden, bam, they're not making it. I mean, it's got to be painful for them, but unfortunately for them, their pain is our gain. So I think that we're sitting in a really good spot. I think, again, our focus on trying to become really the premier quality freelancing platform, and ServiceMax certainly helps us get there, is going to serve us very, very well this year.
And just on that, is it worth pulling together a social media pack potentially, where us as investors, we can post stuff on LinkedIn, Instagram, those types of things, but having like really good quality images. I know Shanna was doing loads of stuff for us and bits and pieces. Is it possible to get like a bit of a social media pack? So I know I can probably speak for myself and some others that we would actively go out and promote the new gig token, if you will, the new logos, maybe a few expressions and stuff, and get it all over LinkedIn and bits and pieces.
No, absolutely. I'm going to ask you to shoot me an email with that, so that, because I'm not really able to take notes right now, but if you could send me an email with that, that's a really good point, and we can definitely put a Dropbox together that will be publicly accessible by anybody, that has graphics that we do, and sheets of hints as to like keywords to use for posting and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think that'd be great. I think people really get behind that, and also maybe new people that are coming into the groups as well. One of the other questions that we had was from Crypto Fun. Just to clarify, for USA investors, Bittrex accepts USA investors as well.
They do, yeah. For USA investors, quite honestly, talking personally as a US guy, your best bet is LA token right now. All you have to do is turn on a VPN. Like, I point mine to Toronto, Canada when I'm on it, and it lets me transact just like anything. I mean, you're limited as to the amount you can withdraw at any given day, but I want to say it's like $1,000 a day. But there's ways around that too. So, but no, I am very focused, obviously, being here in America. We don't have a lot, believe it or not, we don't have a lot of Krios holders in the US. I'd say 20%. Just for the breakdown so most people can understand, it's probably 40% Australia, which is easy to understand because that's where the project originated at. Probably 30% in the UK, and then the balance is, maybe 20% in the US, and the balance is the rest of the globe. So, but having a US-friendly exchange is very important to me.
Next questions are, what is the current supply of TNC once all these 4 companies have all the tokens, maybe as a percentage, and then what will be the total circulating supply of TNC?
Yeah, so they had allocated they had allocated 1 billion tokens per company they were bringing online. I was able to talk them out of 200 on day one down to, the next step was 20. And then I kept, basically bitching at them and got them down to making it just the initial 5. But right now, their outstanding tokens after distribution, I could look at the blockchain, I haven't, but I would have to assume it's probably certainly under 10 billion at this point. I think they minted like 1 trillion. It's ridiculous the amount that they minted, but those aren't out in the wild to be used. So,
right. There's another question in about, where is it? Any potential to team up with any affiliate networks?
And any which networks?
Affiliate
networks. So we have a software package that I rent that is running our pre-search affiliate program right now that allows, this is several months back, I think I probably mentioned pre-search a little bit. They're on my short list of M&As, just so people understand. But they have a project out there that basically is a kind of a VPN for search engines. So you don't get, if you're out searching for a saw on Google, you're going to start seeing a lot of saw ads on all your banner ads. What this does is prevents that from happening. And they have a program with Pre that is basically a staking program where you can go and stake like an AdWord. So I created an affiliate program over with them and their team for Krios, where their holders of Pre, their token, can stake words and send people to our site. And that platform, it's got a great API. It's an awesome platform. But we're going to use that for the referral package and system that we're going to put in play for the Krios freelancers, and I'll explain that here in a second. But it could also, it basically lets me tie into about 200 other affiliate companies and give them the ability to send people our way and get paid. So right now, last month, we received, I don't even know how many click-throughs from the pre-search guys, but it ended up costing us about $300 for the month. Those links that we get from that website, absolutely 100% are our best links according to Google Analytics. People stay on our site longer, they go through more pages, and we get more signups from those links. So that program's actually been very successful for us. I've looked at several other companies to add something similar to that, but as far as a overall affiliate program, that software application gives us the ability to connect to virtually any major affiliate company that's out there pretty seamlessly. The developers, I've had them busy doing an awful lot of different things, mainly trying to create the curation system for the admins and updates to the site. And, the last couple of weeks we've spent, heads down working on the ServiceMax site and stuff like that. But my goal is over probably even as soon as the next 45 days is to get an affiliate program set up for our freelancers that pays them for freelancers and the work that they do that they bring in. So like friends, if I got a friend that's a freelancer, but more importantly, pays them a significant amount of money to bring their employers to our platform. And that, because the way the API is written in this software that we use, I think we're gonna do very well with that. I think that should hopefully light the fire pretty well too. We've actually got 4 or 5 different projects that we're working on right now that are very game changers. Is probably the best way to put it. I mean, like serious game changers. ServiceMax, serious game changer. TNC, serious game changer. I see one of the questions came up. What's the company going to do with the TNC that it receives as a company? We will cash some of that out, and we will use that for development of Krios as a project. And quite honestly, I'll probably use that for some of the profit sharing. So that's a game changer. The freelancer referral system, I think, is a game changer. Freelancer union, that's a huge game changer. I mean, we're talking the deal with ServiceMax. Freelancer union alone are potentially 750,000 currently paying freelancers that have jobs that they're getting paid for that we're going to get some commissions on. I mean, huge game changer. I mean, it's mind-numbing when you do the math of 750,000 people that are averaging, $5,000 a month in pay. I mean, that's a lot of money. It's a heck of a lot of money. So yeah, it's we've got a really bright future. That's all I got to say. I mean, I'm very excited.
One of the other ones was for the merger. Where did the money come from for this deal and the service masters?
Out of my very low stocks at this point. I got hit very, very hard in my investment portfolio, obviously, as everybody in the world has, with the financial markets collapsing quite a bit. So there's a lot of my skin in the game, is all I got to tell you. So they are ServiceMax offered to help offset the costs of the development that they wanted to do. But the problem with that was they were wanting to have access to that, and I was unwilling to do that. So I said, no, let's redo it. We're going to do it. We're going to own it, and it's ours. And that was kind of my decision on that.
The other one, the question we have is, how many staff are on the Cree payroll, and is there any danger of insolvency after your investment? And are TNC investing cash or cash for equity?
TNC is getting no equity in Krios. TNC as a company ends up owning none of our company unless they go out and buy the new gig token when it's released. It really is a sweet deal that we got going on with them. As far as insolvency goes, I guess that's that crystal ball thing. I mean, I've still got a decent amount of personal net worth to keep going on this, and quite honestly, Teresa and myself have invested a lot of money into it to get it to where it's at. And I'm not somebody that gives up. So we're doing well. I mean, I don't see us having a downtick. We are light on staff. I mean, there's, payroll, there's about 10 people on payroll. And then I've got a bunch of contractors, we use freelancers. I mean, I'm hiring almost on a daily basis people off our own site to do different tasks for me. Right now, I'm searching for somebody to just kind of manage my LinkedIn account. One of the things that I've been doing is going out and using my LinkedIn. There's a software called Octopus CRM that basically allows me to go out and check out any group of people that I want to. So I go visit their page with the software. They see that I visited. They reply back, hey, what you doing? I say, hey, we've got Krios.io, a freelancer marketplace, because that's who I'm targeting. I'm targeting anybody that's got freelancer in their profile. And they go out and sign up. Doesn't cost us anything. But one of the positions I'm looking at, probably be two positions I'm looking at right now, are people to manage my LinkedIn profile. So we use, we eat our own hay that we make, I guess. So
another question is, when do you think ServiceMax will start to pay out to the company, and will it affect the June profit share later in the year?
It will definitely affect the June profit share. I think that we will start to see a revenue stream from them probably within 45 days of the official launch that we're hoping to accomplish next week.
Where is it?
So just to kind of wrap that in some parentheses. So the PR company that we use, we spend about $12,500 a month or so with. ServiceMax spends over $150,000 a month with. So they're very fired up about this project. We've got, I am literally dealing with virtually all of the C-level people at ServiceMax to get this done. This isn't just a fluke for them. They're very committed to it.
We have obviously Bitcoin halving coming up in about 30 days or so. Do you think this will have an impact on maybe the TNC gig value at all?
So, okay, so I have very mixed feelings about Bitcoin halving. Some of you may know that at one point in Teresa and my life, we actually owned one of the largest mining operations in Southeast America. We had about 20,000 ant miners operating out of a warehouse in the town we lived at then. And I wish that I had kept all my Bitcoin that we were making. We literally were making like 30, 40 Bitcoin a day. But the power costs and the upgrades to the equipment to keep ahead of the power costs kind of made it no fun. We actually lost some pretty good lick of money on that business. So let's talk about halving. For halving, it sounds like a great idea to make it more difficult. But the problem is, as a miner, it really kind of takes the fun out of it, because now unless Bitcoin's price is going to double, which it will not, you've literally taken the money out of the people that are making the transactions happen. So as we saw, and you guys can look at this online and look at the history of the mining power. When Bitcoin got up recently, like around $9,000, and then precipitously dropped below $5,000. If you look at the amount of people that had miners plugged in, it went way down. And the reason it went way down is because currently the hardware technology, it costs you money to mine. So, but people mine because they think, okay, well, I can mine, I'm going to make a Bitcoin, and it's a $7,000 Bitcoin right now, but it's costing me $8,000 to make it. But I think that Bitcoin's going to go to $100,000. That's the only reason people mine currently, short of people that get free electricity, which unfortunately for Bitcoin is predominantly a Chinese marketplace right now. Most of the mining happens out of there because their oligarchs of China are able to get virtually free power off that big dam that they built years ago. And because of that, I think Bitcoin might be in trouble. I mean, Bitcoin is an asset. You, me, and a fence post, and I'm not giving anybody investment advice, but I would be out of Bitcoin. I would be out of Bitcoin very quickly after the halving. I might keep some of it in there just to see what happens. But if you look at what happened transaction time, from when it went from $9,000 to $5,000. It literally went from taking currently about an hour to transact a Bitcoin transaction to 3 or 4 hours. And the reason is the miners shut down. It wasn't fun for them anymore. They shut it down. And without mining, you have no Bitcoin. So it's a slippery slope. I mean, the only way that they can fix that, and they can do this, is to lower the difficulty factor. So if they half it, and all of a sudden nobody wants to mine because they're getting half as many Bitcoins for the same amount of power and electricity cost, and it's not going up, then they can lower the difficulty rate. But that's kind of what makes Bitcoin valuable, is the fact that it is so difficult to mine. So it's a slippery slope. I mean, I guess I'm on the fence on that. I don't think it's going to affect Ethereum. I mean, I'm a huge Ethereum fan because Ethereum, like Krios, actually has a business behind it. I mean, they get paid in gas every time. The reason you got to have Ethereum in your wallet to move Krios is because they're going to charge you 4 cents to move it. Well, they're doing a bazillion of those a day. So they're actually that makes sense. Bitcoin doesn't have the same model. There's not a business behind it. So that's kind of my take on that. I think that I guess to fully answer that question, I don't think the halving of Bitcoin is going to make much of a difference. Price of either of those, it's certainly not going to go down. If the halving created a $20,000 Bitcoin, then we all know Ethereum follows along. And if Ethereum follows along, then we all follow along. So
I would probably second that, Dwight, as well, because I've offloaded all my Bitcoin over the last year, pretty much. Just based on the fact that personally, I think it's dead technology. Love cryptocurrency, love the projects, but you've got to think longer term. Like you say, I used to mine. I did exactly the same. I had it in my bedroom. And got to a point where it was costing me more money than I was actually making. And if I continued to run them, it would be costing me, I don't know, £150 for £30 worth of crypto if I was lucky. So I can 100% see that. And obviously my money is on Ethereum every day just because there's a business model on it. And I suppose that leads to another question. Do you think that Ethereum is the platform of the future? Because obviously there are other platforms like Ethereum that could maybe take over potentially, or do you think it is Ethereum?
So I'm a little bit on the fence with that as well. I think that anytime a single blockchain gets cumbersome to use, it opens the opportunity for other blockchains to take over. Right now, so one of the reasons, some LA token's really good, so they never have this problem. They're well engineered side. P2P guys, when we first launched with those guys, I mean, how many times were they down for trading for days? Well, they were down for trading for days because they had one machine with their Ethereum chain on it, and it would crap out. And then it takes 2 to 3 days to build that Ethereum chain back. So I think that because of that difficulty and just the massive size of the current blockchain itself for Ethereum, it leads, let me put it this way. As an entrepreneur, I can see myself trying to compete against it here eventually. Just because eventually it's going to be so cumbersome that it becomes somewhat problematic. But I think we're a long ways off from that. The good news for us is we don't care what we're on. I mean, like I say, we own the blockchain. So if I've got to convert it to some other platform versus just the Ethereum platform, we can swap it over to that easily. In fact, the guy that runs Washington Elite, Bruce Porter, he is the founder of a token called Global Boost, and it's an offshoot of I think it's Bitcoin, and he's still got a very quick blockchain on that, on Global Boost. And he I can't tell you how many times we've sat down, we sat down at dinner in Miami, and he's like, Dwight, I know you're doing M&A. You need to buy me out. You need to buy me out. So, I mean, there's opportunities for other projects like that to kind of get in and become uh, solid competitors to Ethereum. But right now, Ethereum does a good job. I mean, it's not, I usually get into business to compete against somebody when I know I can do it a lot better than them, and I don't know if right now there's a way to get a lot better than Ethereum.
I like the answer. That's good. I think it really I think it confirms that you're doing all the right things the right way with the right players, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Got a few more questions here that have come in. Let me have a quick. Where was I? This was it. It was about profiles. So I think some people have got profiles, especially to buy on the platform. So obviously people have been able to buy tokens like the credits, and then obviously you convert it to the Cree, which now will be gig. First of all, I suppose if people have got those type of accounts, will they get banned? Because a lot of people are just going on to buy the tokens as an investor point of view. And also, will that facility still be available?
Yes, it will. I'm not seeing shutting down the platform buys short of for a couple of days during the Cree to gig conversion. I can't, once the TNC is on the exchanges, it really makes no sense to continue the Cree blockchain. So that's kind of the timeline that I'm going to do that at.
And will you be able to buy gig on the Cree platform?
Yeah,
okay.
it'll be gig on the platform after
that. Oh, right. There's a few just come back in again. And just on the profiles, obviously, is there the possibility to have an investor profile where people can just go on? Because at the moment, I think you need like a freelancer profile to go in and do that type of thing.
Either employers or freelancer profiles work. We split up freelancing and employer profiles in the last update to the software. We can probably do that, and we can certainly put a badge out there. Anybody that's purchased tokens could have a special gold badge that says they're an investor as well. But yeah, we can definitely look at making more investor-friendly profile.
And just to follow up,
just so people kind of understand a little bit, one of the reasons that the Krios IO site is not like super in-your-face crypto-y is because of the bank card processing. So it's very, very difficult for projects to be able to accept, in mass credit cards and stuff like that. And it's because of crypto. So, the deal I've got with our current provider is basically that we have to do less than 5% of the revenue from that platform has to be in crypto. And quite honestly, that was even a very difficult conversation to get through. But we're there. So an investor profile, we wouldn't be showing it up on the homepage or anything like that, but it would be when you log in and buy something, we could upgrade you to an investor profile.
Cool. I think that actually answers, would there be a limit on the platform in terms of buying, which I think you may have just alluded to there in terms of the, and I suppose, is that why you buy credits and you can't buy directly the crypto?
Correct. Yeah, that is correct.
Cool. Is there a plan to automate withdrawals from the platform instead of yourself doing it manually?
Yes. So one of the secrets is to the Krios in the Krios platform is that never sees the light of day of blockchain, which means it's 100% safe in my hands. Nobody can steal it from you because it's not attached to the blockchain. That when we went through the engineering as to how we were going to do that is pretty much where everybody that I consulted with fell and said, okay, so the actual accounts, if there are Cree in those accounts, they're not part of the blockchain. So to make it so you can do an automatic withdrawal would kind of open it up to the blockchain, because somebody could get your login. Let's just say you had 10,000 Cree on the platform. If they could figure out your username and password, they would be able to transfer that then to their wallet, and you're out. So the logic behind it kind of being a walled system like that is so that it's a manual transaction from somebody inside of the organization.
So more a security protocol rather than
it's virtually the only way to be 100% secure. So, I mean, if somebody gets my login to the platform, they still don't have access to the Cree tokens. So, I mean, they can log in as me, but they can't move those tokens to their wallets. So, I mean, it virtually is 100% safe that way. Now, I know some people like getting their tokens right away. We had some tornadoes roll through Georgia here. In fact, about 10 miles up the road here, got pummeled, and I was out of internet for about 36 hours, which was very painful to say the least. But that's going to happen occasionally.
Where is the other one? Is there any opportunities to integrate web conferencing into the communications area?
Okay, sorry, repeat that.
Is there any opportunity to integrate web conferencing into the communications area? I think that's on the platform. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, there is. Actually, have had several companies that have found us, through the internet and offered that service for us to integrate onto our platform. The problem with that is the same problem we have with our own internal chat, and we're getting smarter and smarter as we go. But when we first launched this thing, we had the internal messaging system in the platform, and we had nothing in there that said, okay, if somebody types in an email address, nuke it. If somebody types in a phone number, nuke it. If somebody puts in a Skype address, nuke it. So the developers have been working pretty hard on some artificial intelligence to kind of block those things, and it's actually working very well. We're catching, I think, probably easily 90% of what we were letting go by before. If we open it up to where you can verbally communicate between two people, it's very easy for them to do a side deal and the company not see any of the revenue from that. So that's the downside to that. Probably before I do that, I think one of the things I wanted to add to the platform is going to be some sort of not database, but file access, kind of like a Dropbox on there, so that if somebody does graphics, they can throw it up in the Dropbox and give the employer access to them, or if there's source code that's been written, they can put it up on a Dropbox and give them access to it. But like I say, the biggest problem in our early days was the fact that everybody was trying to circumvent the business. It's like, hey, Skype me and we can work a deal out. And they were saying it right in the messages. I mean, we get like 30,000 messages a day on that platform. You couldn't possibly do it without some sort of artificial intelligence. So we've been proactively trying to get smarter and smarter on that day by day.
That makes sense, and I'm sure I seen an article only yesterday where they had there's a blockchain company coming out with a form of communication like that, video conferencing, to actually take on Zoom. I'll have to try and dig it out, see if I can find that for you.
Yeah. Again, the problem is if we give them the opportunity to say whatever they want, we can't control what they say. So that becomes problematic. Speaking of blockchain companies that are good fits with us, when I was down in Miami earlier this year, I came across this one guy that had a company that is actually putting everybody's like college educational records on the blockchain. So we're working with him to try to get us to be one of the first things out there. So if you're a freelancer and you went to Harvard, you're going to have a legitimate record of your transcripts at Harvard. So that's pretty important too. Again, focused on trying to get quality people. If we can prove their education and their background, and it could be a school at Microsoft or a Cisco certification. They're trying to get all of this stuff up on the blockchain, and they're being very successful with the schools with this right now.
So really sort of a way to quantify that if someone, because anyone could really come on, put a profile on of I've done this, that, and the other. They really haven't, but that would quantify that they really had, and it was registered, if you will.
Yeah, that's correct.
Cool. We have another question from Darren. Just back to the withdrawals. Wouldn't getting people to lock their withdrawal addresses save Dwight time, and only having to manually contact him with the withdrawal address and prove it's them making the change?
Now that's a good point, Darren. That's probably a field we ought to add out there. The only stipulation being is if you have the wrong address in there, that's your problem, not mine. That's one thing, especially now that everybody's changed it. I have been kind of keeping a log of the people that have been buying on the platform and their previous wallets to send to, just to kind of cross-check when I go to send it. But now that everybody's got new Aladdin wallets, that's kind of falling apart. So that's a good thing. But like I say, it's buyer beware. Just make sure you got your updated wallet.
Another question. Hello. There's a few coming in there. Is it worth limiting what people can actually buy on the platform in terms of when it changes to gig? Limit people what can buy on there, and actually force them to go and buy on the exchanges to try and help drive the price up?
There is a limit, and it's kind of enforced more so by the credit card company than it is by me. We are going to probably add some logic into that platform buying. It seems that there may be a little bit of gaming going on there. We're gonna try to prevent some of that, but. No, I mean, we definitely want people buying on the exchanges. So people understand the mechanics of how that works. I got to go back out and buy that. So it's not that the money doesn't get spent on the exchanges. And I can tell you that it's certainly less than 20% of the volume at any given point is platform-based versus exchange-based. But I do get, Zach, what you're saying as far as it kind of keeps people from going out and upping the price. But you'll see that I tend to end up having to go out there and up the price to buy back the Crius. So.
I think the other one, I think you said at the very beginning, Crius was at 1 cent. I'm sure it was. We've seen it up at nearly 2 before the lock. Will that
So that was somewhat engineered on my side. Just full transparency. As I was shutting P2P down, I went out and tried to buy up virtually as much of it out there as I could. One of the problems with the exchanges when we go to convert to Crius, because we're doing a name change, it makes it a little more difficult for them to make sure that people get the right stuff. So I've been telling most people to get as much as they can. Don't leave Crius. You can leave Ethereum out there, but don't leave Crius out there unless you're actively trading it, because it's there is a possibility that you won't get that, and there's no way for us as a company to know what is in each person's wallets, because we don't have access to that inside their system because they use a centralized wallet. That being said, this morning when I was talking with Jason over at TNC, that was one of his questions: how many Cree were still on exchanges? And from the addresses that I have of the exchanges, it looks like about 1.5 million Cree are still out at exchanges.
And what is the absolute cutoff date for people to, one, get their TNC, and also, secondly, if they don't want their TNC and they just want to put it in their MyEther wallet, when is the absolute for them to be able to do that, get it off the exchanges? And
yeah, so to get your TNC, you got 12 months, because you still own your Cree, even though the contract's not active, you just can't trade it, but you still own it. Once you send it to TNC's wallet, the Aladdin Pro, that's when it gets burned. So you've got 12 months to get that over. As far as the timeline to get it off the exchanges, so LA Token, the reason they're still up is because they're super easy to work with. Their team is spot on. I mean, I'd put them up against any exchange I've dealt with. I'm not concerned about losing free on the LA Token. They'll work with me to get that right. They're very transparent to it. P2P, not so much. P2P said if you do a token swap with a name swap, they wanted me to pay them $25,000, convert those Cree to gig, and we had about 500,000 Cree on there. So I mean, when you put $1 to number of Cree, it doesn't make sense. So.
All right, a few more have come in. How many wallets have completed the KYC for the profit share to date?
So we're right at about 300 people, and of that 300 people, the number is just under, probably over now, because some of you whales are getting bigger by the day still. So. Yeah, we're probably over 100 million Cree that's under KYC at this point.
Yeah, I know a few people that have been there chomping up quite recently.
There's still people chomping up this cheap stuff. Yeah.
Another question is, when can we sell the TNC, and are we limited to how much we can sell?
Yeah, you can sell 10% of your holdings per month, because that's what you're going to have access to, and you can sell all of it or none of it or whatever you want. Right now, the set dates for the exchange openings is April 30th. So you'll be able to, go over to one of those exchanges, deposit your TNC or 10% of your TNC and trade it, buy it, sell it, whatever. Use it to compete in the trading competitions. So.
And just, you mentioned that the Google Docs you were getting updated. What if people updated the Google Docs today? Will that still get captured? All that information.
So I sent them the file this morning. If you are new to it, you will not see that until next week. So you've missed that 48-hour window. If you are adding to it, it's just that difference that would not be added. But that being said, my plan is to, when I make each distribution, the process is going to be to look at that wallet, see how many Cree are in it, and that's what you're going to get. So it's not really based on the spreadsheet as much as it is on what's in the blockchain. Because once you've deposited them in there, they're locked. I know that you can't take them out. So it's not like you can take them out and put them back in and really screw my math up. So I would say that if you're currently one of the 250 or so people that had signed up, if you're still adding Cree to it, that'll happen, in the next 48 hours or so.
I think that is all the questions that we've had, Dwight.
Wizard, I see Wizard. Yeah, you probably made it this morning because I didn't send that over to Jason until like noon my time, Eastern time. Last question I'm seeing from Wizard. Yes, there's lots more you should know. So read books. It's good for you. That's pretty much all the updates that I got, and quite honestly, that's a lot of them. Some of the M&A stuff I didn't go over any of that, but things have really slowed down with people not being at work. Some of the M&A deals I'm working on pretty much have gone radio silent since coronavirus. I think everybody knows Aircoins is still very near and dear to my heart. Somebody asked what some of the funds from the TNC to Krios as a company were going to be used for. I can assure you that that is one of them. So,
cool. I think a very comprehensive overview and plenty more to come as well. And also, I think it would be good if people fed back about the new way that we're doing things. It's been quite interesting, and I think it's worked quite well actually.
It's a different way of doing it. It's what's kind of cool is and I hope you guys do this. I mean, go out and wander the world out there, and sit down, talk to each other, get to know each other, talk bad things about me, whatever. I think I've got the space for 30 days, like this conference room, and the ability for all our users to go out in the world. Based on the feedback, I'll renew it for a year or whatever. We'll just see. But I think it's kind of a cool place. Anybody, you can telegram somebody and say, hey, let's go meet in the virtual world. You guys can find anywhere out there. Like I said, if there's a red ring around it, you got yourself a little private meeting area, or a blue ring around it.
Cool. Well, I think it's just to say a massive thank you, Dwight, for the update, all the hard work, and definitely the TNC deal. I know you've been working tirelessly in the background to pull it off, and I think, yes, we don't have a profit share for April. We've had this 2020 has been a bit of a challenging year, shall we say, to date. I don't think it's really gone as anybody had planned. But I think if people just step back for a second, look back and just say, we've got the TNC deal, we can sell 10%. That's double, triple what we would have got for the profit share anyway. And there might be something in May plus something in June. We're not doing too bad. Yeah,
and the fact that the company's healthy. I mean, we're really in a good spot. I think that some of the deals that we're being able to execute against, and exposure that the PR company's getting us into some of these larger corporations is really starting to take effect to us. So I think that I personally believe that our future is very bright. I think we got a little bit of a bump in the road from the coronavirus. But that might not be such a bad thing. I mean, that's one thing, being, old, time has taught me that sometimes difficult things actually turn out to be good things. The fact that I know that my top 3 competitors are probably feeling an immense amount of financial pain right now makes me happy. So... as far as a rewatch of the meeting, so we got a couple of people trying to record it. If those recordings were successful, I will throw it up in my Dropbox, and you guys can download it and watch it. I'll share that. I'm hoping that Jed just says that his did not record well, so we'll see. Hopefully we got a recording somewhere. But is that it? No more questions?
I think that's it, Dwight.
All right. Thanks everybody for taking the time out. Time zone wise, I know this was difficult, but this just seemed to be kind of the middle of the ground for the main continents that we're on. It was either super early, super late, or in the middle. But hopefully it worked out. And yeah, give us feedback as to what you thought about the format of the conference. I do like the interactivity. I know that James's videos, I think we can kind of do those live and have the little chat box on the side too if people would rather go back to that. I'm open to any suggestions. I just thought this might be a fun way to try doing an update.